request you to please take your seats. We're just waiting for all of you to please for settling down so that we can have our keynote speaker, Mr. Chaba, who's going to be addressing us all now. आप सभी से एक बार फिर से निवेदन करना चाहेंगे कि प्लीज आप अपने स्थान पर बैठ जाएं. We need to start the session. Okay. So may I request Mr. Rajeev Chaba, the President and Managing Director of MG Motor India Private Limited, as he joins us for his keynote address. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. He's someone who needs no greater introduction, but we're all aware of his exemplary work which he has done. So we look forward to his address. Please be seated.
Hi, good afternoon. I just made it. I was in Japan for some time. So in Japan, they used to say that they believe in this philosophy called JIT, just in time. So I made a joke. I said, we Indians also reach on time, but we call it shit, somehow in time. So actually, I just made it, and so Mr. Gadkari was leaving and I was arriving. Actually, I'm coming from Auto Expo. We just launched our two new vehicles called MG Gloucester and G10, which is an SUV and MPV. So that was press conference was at 10 o'clock. I left at about 10:45, reached just now. So just made it. I'm happy to be here. So I know that some of our members are getting settling down. So maybe I'll just set the tone. I don't have any presentation. I don't have any slides. I'll tell you something from my experience. And I think what I'm going to say is relevant to both OEMs and dealers. My experience primarily is into the passenger vehicles, so certain things may not be very, very valid to the two-wheelers kind or tractors if some of you are from that area, but I think still would probably have some resonance with you. So I'll just talk about a few things what I've learned in this automotive business so far, and I have worked in a few other countries. I've met dealer fraternity of China, Japan, Dubai, because I've lived there and I worked there, Egypt, and certain things are common. Sometimes we think our business is complicated, our business is different in different countries, but I think if I look at 10,000 feet level, lots of things are common. So common lessons. So I'll just say that yes, times are uncertain right now. Some of us may feel that 10 years back life was simpler, but future is going to be uncertain. Right now we are going through transition. The moods are not very, very positive. BS4, BS6 transition. Last year was not good for the industry. And then we talk about the stocks of EVs are coming. What will happen to IC engine? What will happen to your repair business? Because if EVs are there, then repair business goes down in the workshop. And all kinds of uncertainty. And then you have new players coming, including us, Great Wall and Kia and some other players are trying to come into it. And how do they do business? How do they establish? How they impact the stalwarts? So, all kinds of doubts happen. And then you have social media issues. You have all the words being thrown at us, to you. We talk about artificial intelligence, IoT. We may or may not mean, what does it mean? But data analytics. And so, more words, more jargons thrown at all of us to confuse us. Hey, well, how do we survive in this kind of business? So I want to simplify, maybe oversimplify, because I feel there are certain basics in our business and maybe in every business. So I thought one more word I'll reinforce. Like, they say today is the world of VUCA. Right, you've heard a lot about that. V, volatility, U is uncertainty, C is chaos, and A is ambiguity. So again, these jargons and they get bombarded at us, and so how do we go? So I have few points. I thought maybe 5 odd points I have to share with you from my experience. Again, for OEM and dealers, I think it's valid on both the sides. And then 3, advice. So let me start with that. See, the first point or first thought from my perspective is, yes, for our business, I think product is very important, right? Product is the key, and we need to have that company where we are quite confident about the products. But it's important, but not the essential piece of our business, in my opinion. The more important thing is, how do you see people at the top? And what's their philosophy? And not the one person, by the way. You need to at least look at the top 10% of the people of that organization. So it's true for OEM. Let me talk about OEM, and then I'll talk about dealerships. So how do you see the guys at the top? Do you think you can have a relationship with them, business relationship? Do you think you can talk with them, collaborate with them? Do they listen to you? Do they have some vision? Do they have leadership? Do they motivate you? Do they encourage you? Or it is my way, highway? You know, times have changed. Times have changed, and the companies have to change. OEMs have to change. You know, in my time, my father was like strict kind of father, authoritarian. Probably some of you can resonate with that. In my time, that was the relationship. But my son and my relationship is totally different. My son still sometimes feels, hey, how come you have become MD? You don't know. So he talks to me like that. You know, and I need to deal with him in a different way. I respect my father a lot. I mean, he taught me a lot, but I cannot have that relationship, that kind of relationship with my son. So OEMs who have survived in the market with the old kind of relationship, my way or highway, or you just listen to me, I don't think so that kind of attitude can survive in future. So you need to look at the OEM leadership, and not again one person, because that one person can be changed or can go, or something may happen to him or her. So you need to look at the top 10% of the leadership, and maybe there are 1 or 2 cases which probably may not be as per your liking, but primarily if they believe in certain cause and philosophy, and they want to have, they have the right mindset, they have the right kind of value system, I think that's the company to work for. Yes, product is important, that's given, I think. But I think that's very important, and likewise it comes to dealerships. At your dealership, you look at your business, and you look at your top 10% of the people. Do they want to work with you? क्या वो नौकरी कर रहे हैं आपके पास, या they really are part of you? They want to enhance your business. You know, I think as we go forward, I think there has to be a larger purpose for working. It cannot be just work. It has to be a passion. So you need to look at your top 10% of the people and see how do they think about you. So you may think about OEM the way I just told you, but how do that top 10% people think about you as an owner? Do they want to work with you? And how do they see their future with you? So I think this point, I would say, is number 1 point. I'll come to some other points, because this will again go back to this relationship, because it starts with that. So if you have to be successful, and most of you are successful, so I don't have to preach that, but I'm saying general point from my perspective, even from OEM perspective, is let's look at the mindset, the personality, the DNA, the value system of top 10% of our people. So that's the point number 1. Point number 2, I think gone are the times when we can do business in a very untransparent way. The way the whole tax regime is happening, the way financiers are dealing with us, the way wholesale funding is happening, you cannot do the funds transfer or misuse or abuse certain things the way we used to do. Maybe that was the rule of the game that point of time, and if you had to excel, if you had to be at top of it, you had to play the game as per the rules of the game at that point of time. But now rules are changing, so we need to change. I think transparency, the GST era, the income tax era, and all that stuff, it's better to be clean and transparent in every possible way. And that starts with the companies also. Everything has to be simpler, transparent, believable. Can we have this kind of a trust? And likewise, dealerships, you know, I know that all of you are very, very smart and successful business people. That's why you are here. But as you know, and I'm sure you get the point what I'm trying to make here, as we go forward, I think it's better to be transparent, clean, open book kind of a thing between OEM and the dealers, and between the dealerships also, between you and your family and things like that, so that you can have a peaceful sleep at the night. What for we are making the money at the end of the day? So I think that is my second point. The third point is business has to be done on data and processes. It cannot be done on emotions. And you need to have the data or meaningful information out of the data to take some action. Some of you, I'm sure, are multiple dealer owners. Some of you have single outlet or single franchise. You may have the intention and aspiration, ambition of growing. But then how do you manage the business? Even if it's a single outlet business, how do you manage it? Are you a micromanager? Are you micromanaging everything? Or you have a data-driven base of governance system? So depending on what kind of business you have, some of you I know have multiple dealerships at multiple locations. There's a different way of doing business there where you need to have a governance model that you get to know what is important for you to know on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. So everything you don't want to know on a daily basis, right? But certain things you want to know. So you need to have clear-cut KPI or the measurement that what 2 or 3 things you want to see on a daily basis, weekly basis, and monthly basis. And if you have one single location, one franchise, and obviously you want to grow, at least get into this habit that you will try to do that business in a very professional way. And again, when I say professional, it does not mean at all that you need to have MBAs or engineers or very qualified people, or you need to have that kind of qualifications. It's just a simple way of how do you measure the health of your dealership and what kind of things you need to see on a regular basis. So I think that approach is very important, and some of us do this mistake even from the OEM perspective कि हाँ कोई एक incident होगी dealer के पास या कुछ हो गया उसके basis पे then we want to take larger term, long-term decisions, which is wrong. So we also, let's say in MG at this point of time, we are trying to get this kind of a data-driven thing that let's have all the data before we really try to take any action, positive or negative, against the dealer. So I think that's true for both OEMs and business cannot be run based on perception or anecdotes. So I think, and if you have this kind of a data, you can also prove any OEM wrong, by the way, because I'm sure everybody gives a chance before taking any action. So you can make your viewpoint very clear. This is how the data is. So I think that's very, very important in my perspective. Fourth point comes to policies, and I think here I'll try to elaborate on that. What do I mean by policies? So again, whether it's OEM policy or dealer policies, let's talk about OEM policies to start with. I think you can make policies in 2 ways, as per 2 philosophies. One philosophy is, I trust you unless you prove me wrong. So if you believe in this philosophy, your policy is going to be 1 page, few points, because I trust you unless you prove me wrong. And the second philosophy can be, I don't trust you unless you prove me wrong. Means aap choro, right? So if you have to make policy as per that philosophy, your policy will be 5 pages with lots of conditions, this, that. I give you incentive subject to A, B, C, D, E. This is linked to this is linked to manpower, it's linked to customer satisfaction, linked to number of accidents covered, problem resolution days. So you can link it to many factors, many things, so that want to make sure that everything we have covered. And dealers are not able to cheat, right? So there, I don't want to make any sensitive comment here, but sometimes I feel our taxation system, sometimes income tax, is based on that theory that everybody is going to cheat, so how do I make sure that nobody can cheat? So here, coming to first principle that I trust you means what? If our policy is very simple, and I know that you will abide by it, largely in my experience across the globe, 90% people will go by the trust factor and they will do a good job. 10% guys will try to cheat or abuse or misuse to different level of extent. So for these 10% people, we want to victimize 90%. So then, as a company, we need to have ways to find out these 10% people are outliers and try to deal with them separately, but give a good time to 90% people. I know it's very easy to say, difficult to execute, because invariably we have people in our organization who will always talk about these 10% people and try to complicate the policy. कि ऐसे चोरी हो जाएगी, वैसे हो जाएगा, ये ऐसे कर लेगा, ये ऐसे इनवॉइस दिखा देगा, ऐसे इंसेंटिव ले लेगा, things like that. So I think here, again, it goes back to the first point, manpower, the top leaders, that how do you really want to guide the whole thing? Yes, there will be 10% people, 5% people, there may be 1% people who are really cheats. Let me candidly say it, right? So you find out cheats and deal with them. So likewise at the dealership, when you are dealing with your manpower, you are coming with the incentive structure, with the training structure, things like that. And then sometimes you feel that, hey, listen, let me hold the incentive for the salesperson or after salesperson because wo chhod ke chala jayega. So I'll pay incentive maybe after 3 months, and you delay the payments and things like that. Is it really going to have an impact, lasting impact? No, it's a very tactical thing which you are trying to do. Or your incentive policy is like an OEM policy, some of them, where it's very complicated and linked to many factors and delayed payments and things like that. Doesn't work. Trust me, it doesn't work beyond a point. Everybody can see through it. Policies on trainings again. We may say, hey, we are training, but the people leave, and again I have to train, and again I'm putting a lot of money in the training. But just imagine if you don't train, do you want to have an untrained person at your dealership versus a trained person who might leave? And even if this person, suppose, leaves, trained person, you can always say that you have added something to society. At least you have done training for one person who is going to have his or her livelihood in a more meaningful way. So thoda bahut contribution bhi ho gaya hai. But the training is important. So don't have policies where you don't do that. Like, coming to, again, OEM kind of policies, it's not only about dealer margin, how do you want to give it, and incentives and things like that. Everything. Your parts return policy, how do you want to make it? So again, I want to give an example on this parts return policy. You must say, if you have ordered yourself and the part has not been used for 6 months or 9 months, I'll not take it back. Okay. If you have ordered a part on VOR emergency, then I will not take it back. Or if there is an aging of more than 1 year, I will not take it back. By the way, some customers don't even take the parts back at all, OEMs, right? So I'm talking about those who take so can you simplify it? Why would you take the part, by the way? Why dealers will take the parts? You don't want to play with those parts. You want to use the parts in case something goes wrong in the car or two-wheeler or whatever vehicle you are selling. And suppose those parts are not being used, I think it should be returned back in a very simple policy. And it can be a very simple policy where you can say, okay, minus some percentage, 5%, 8%, 10%, whatever, and no questions asked, I'll take it back. So that's a simpler way of policy, but if you think of it, after-sales team can have 2 days workshop to decide on this policy. Because again, we'll talk of, iske negatives kya hai. So I think there are simpler ways of doing business, which we sometimes intellectually complicated, both at OEM ends and at dealers end also. And I think we can, if we think clearly, and we think of simplifying, we can do that. So policies, I think, are very, very important part of our business, and policies get linked to, again, the people. And that's why, again, it starts, and I'll keep saying it. We all say, by the way, normally we say at the end of the day, at the end of the speech or at the end of any session, hey, by the way, people are important. But guys, you know better than me, I'm sure, on this issue. I think everything is about people at the top. So you need to take care of your top 10% people, and you need to look at OEM. What kind of people they have at the top? Again, not the only top, the top 10%. So I think that's very, very important before you decide next course of action and you decide your midterm and long-term plans. Last thing on this 5 assets of fifth, I want to talk about the trends. Now this is very, very important. You need to watch the trends, right? You need to see, you should be able to predict little bit of unpredictability. One of the jobs of the leaders as founder, as business owner is to always keep thinking, what can go wrong? And once in 3 months, once in 6 months, you should have this serious discussion, either within the family or within your top people, what can go wrong in your business? And how do you prepare for that? What can be the worst, right? And then you start preparing for that. So from that perspective, some trends which you spot, I think we need to start working. Right now, if I see it, I think all of us need to be social media savvy. Wherever you are, whichever location you are, some guys are there who are there to tarnish your image at any point of time, given the slightest possibility. That's unfortunately the negative part of social media. So you all need to know and watch what's happening in your area, about your dealerships. Your disgruntled employee can talk about you. You know, a person who has not been paid incentive on time can talk about you. The person, your neighbor who is not happy with your progress can talk about you. You know, so if suppose they make these kind of negative comments about you, how do you deal with that? One is the positive side, obviously, that you need to keep talking positives about your dealerships. But if suppose negative happen, and it would happen, trust me, at one point of time, it would happen. How do you deal with all that stuff? So that's one thing. EV trend is happening. Subscription trend is happening. Now, subscription, you know, I think in a lot of OEMs, they are talking about it. And then still, I think we are not very clear about what do you mean by subscription, but that's a new way of mobility. Some people do not want to buy the vehicles, and they want to try it for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. It's kind of an extended test drive, if I can call it. But that's one way of doing the business. It can add additional revenue stream to your business, which you may not see the benefit right now, but over a period of some time, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, probably it will be important. So subscription, at least try to experiment, do new things. The EV trend happening, EV again will be dealt in a different way. And again, by the way, I'm of opinion that it's not that in 5 years' time, especially in the car side, by the way, I'm talking that everything will be EV. ICE engines are here to stay for foreseeable future. ICE engines will be there. You know, so it's not that tomorrow everything is going to be converted into EV and suddenly business will collapse. It won't happen. It's a very slow journey. People have to start. I'm happy at MG we have started. We got pretty good response too. So it tells you. And by the way, a little bit I'll talk about that example just to make a point that the whole last year, the industry was, industry means the car industry I'm talking about, only 2,000 cars were sold by 3 players. And when we started doing the bookings and we did not declare the price, that point of time we didn't declare the price, we just talked about a range, we got 2,800 bookings in 5 cities. And the price range is 20 lakhs to 25 lakhs. It means guys are willing to experiment only in 5 cities. So if I just extrapolated and I say, suppose we make it freely available, then I think 5,000-6,000 cars in that price range we can sell, I feel, right now. So the moment you have cars between 10 lakhs and 15 lakhs and the charging infrastructure keeps adding up, just imagine the volume. Imagine a car less than 10 lakhs for EV. Yes, there will be questions, range anxiety, how would you charge? हमारे इंडिया में कैसे charge हो सकता है? Wiring तो ठीक से है नहीं. वो सब questions हैं. But it will start slowly. And we are facing the problems right now. In fact, another business, by the way, opportunity we are seeing is, we have to hire electricians. Those electricians are doing the wiring. We are hiring some guys from retired, Desu kind of companies, and electricity companies, maybe who are retired employees from there, or current employees, who can know कि एक wire को कैसे draw करेंगे, transformer से कैसे तार खींचेंगे, कहाँ लगाएंगे, and stuff like that. And maybe if you start doing all that business, maybe OEMs will say, okay, per installation, I give you 10,000 rupees, maybe you make a margin there. Something like that. Right now, we have got startups who are doing this business, but that's an additional way of doing business maybe in future. So I think spot these things, and if something is happening, participate in a positive way, because that's the way you will learn, and some mistakes are okay. By the way, if you end up making some mistake, that's fine. So I would say subscription model, EV model, the digital and data, I think you need to know. And by the way, you don't need to know everything. I still, frankly, cannot understand the language of some of my 25 and 30-year-old marketing guys. I used to think I know marketing very well, but when they start talking to me and they talk today's language, I don't know that part. But I have good guys to do the business, right? And I think our marketing is reasonably okay in MG. So, but they do the job. So you don't have to do everything, but you need to make sure that you have the right people, youngsters in your team who do the data analysis from where the customers are coming to your dealerships. कौन सा type का trend है, कौन सा variant ले रहा है, क्या ले रहा है. They can predict based on that what else you can do. In your city, there is a data points where you can get to know कि किस area में ज़्यादा गाड़ियाँ बिकती हैं. All that stuff is possible very easily in a low cost possible way. So you don't have to depend on keep releasing lots of ads in the newspaper. Gone are the days, I think. Still, print media is very, very important. It will coexist, I think. But there are smarter and better ways of doing it. So this is what the trend. Now, 3 advices. So I talked about intent at the top, the people at the top. Second is clean and transparent way of doing business. Third is the process and data-driven approach. Fourth is the policies, clear policies. Fifth is trend setting. This OEMs have to do and dealers have to do. And I hate to say it myself here that there is a huge talent crunch. In OEM also, unfortunately, the biggest problem is you do not have the right people in the middle level and senior middle level, sometimes even higher level. And if those people have been doing the business from last 20, 30 years the old way, how do they expect to manage a good dealer body? I think we need to talk about this issue in every possible forum, that we need to have the right people in OEMs. And then we need to have the right people at the dealership. And that's why we can glorify our auto industry. Otherwise, we'll keep doing the business the old possible way, where you will not be able to attract the talent. So I think one job is find out young talent, 25, 30, 35 years old, and give them a chance to grow. So both at OEMs and dealers. And three advices. Number one, Harvard did a study globally across various sectors, various things, and they said there are only three ways to have a good sustainable business. Not the auto, I'm not talking about auto, I'm talking in general. First, they said, you cannot cut costs to prosperity. You have to have a growth mentality, and you need to have a growth. Means times are bad, you have to cut cost. That's tactical. But all time along, just by cutting costs, you cannot be rich. You have to look at the growth. And the second, they said, you cannot win any war, any game, any industry, any competition based on price. You cannot be the lowest price or the cost provider. You have to have differentiation. So you need to differentiate what do you stand for. It cannot be just basis low cost or low price. The third, they said there is no third strategy. It's only 2 points, growth and differentiation. Second advice from my side. Guys, I personally try to do it. We all make money. God has been kind to us, and I think we'll have more money, hopefully. But what would you do if you don't have good health? Right? So I think we need to look at our health, and we should, so that we can enjoy our life, we can enjoy our money, we can enjoy our relationships. So my personal advice, some of you are older than me, so I'm sorry if I'm preaching, but I'm also quite old. I think health is very, very important. I think we need to take care of that. And the third thing and last thing advice is, guys, at the end of the day, I feel, especially if you are 50 plus, 55 plus like me, I think what for we are earning money, what for we are doing all this, we need to stand for a cause. And it can be any cause close to your heart, for your dealership, for your employees, and likewise for us and OEM. So in MG, we are talking about diversity, women empowerment, poor girls education. We want to go deep into that and do whatever we can do. And second, we are trying to take on sustainability. We haven't done much on that, but I think we will start doing on that. छोटा-छोटा काम कर रहे हैं अभी, जैसे कि business card नहीं छाप रहे हैं, plastic bottles नहीं हैं, office में single plastic नहीं आएगा, things like that. But I think we want to go deep. It's just token. So you can, and I'm sure, and I know most of you are doing something already. चाहे वो बच्चों की education है, चाहे women cause है, चाहे कोई disease का है, चाहे वो cancer का है, taking care of elders, taking care of orphans. One cause you need to have, because, by the way, it's proven fact now the youngsters, millennials, do not want to work for a company where it's only work. They want to make an impact. They want to create, they want to have a meaningful job where they say कि हम कुछ और भी कर रहे हैं job के अलावा. And I think all of us also need to do that. So thank you very much. Thanks for your time and patience.
Thank you so very much, sir, for leading and inspiring everyone with your thoughts to be participative, to be progressive, proactive, prognostic, passionate, out-of-box thinker as we move towards and look forward to our prosperity, our society's prosperity, our nation's prosperity at large. And once again, as you said, it is a slowdown, it is a downturn, but don't waste this opportunity. This is time to create that competitive edge and that differentiation. Thank you so very much. May I request Mr. Ashish Bamba to please join us here on the dais as we express our gratitude, presenting this memento, expression of our thanks and regards to him.